Hey YouTube, fellow artists, how you doing? Welcome back. If you are going through life drawing right now and you're struggling with gesture, you're struggling with the lines, where do you even start, what materials to use, this video is going to go ahead and address a lot of the things that I've been learning throughout the weeks. As you know, I'm going through art school, Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design, and I am in my life drawing class. I have learned exponentially. It is a very tough course, but if you do what you're supposed to do and you go through it with a mindset that you're going to learn and you're open to critique and advice, you will see how much you can learn. So some of the things I'm going to go and teach you are those principles that I've been learning and implementing. And stick around, and I hope this will help you out. All right, so some of the gestural drawings that we're doing are, you're trying to find certain landmarks. You have the shoulders, the hips, and then you're gonna find the middle where the spine would be, the sternum and the spine, okay? On top of that, you wanna find where there's contrast in value. Where is those deep, dark shadows? Where's the light coming from, and where's the shadow gonna be? So since these are very quick, 1 to 2 minute gesture drawings, you gotta hurry up. You got to do a lot of practice. You're going to be going through a ton of practice. So one of the things that you're going to be using that I did not use in the very beginning was newsprint. It's a very thin piece of paper. It's very inexpensive, so I would recommend just go ahead and invest in a newsprint pad, 50 sheets. These are going to be about, I think it's 18 to 24 inches. The reason why the paper is so large is so that you're using your shoulder, you're using your whole arm, and not just your fine motor skills like your wrist and your fingers. We usually grew up drawing like this, using our fine motor skills our whole life. So this is going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but these many drawings is actually here to help. So don't be afraid to go ahead and just keep practicing. Even if you need to do more practice, go ahead and keep doing it, all right? All right, so here's an example of using a white Conte pencil, or you can even use a white chalk / charcoal pencil, is something like this, or you can use a white stick of pastel like this for a drawing in order to render the highlights on your black piece of paper. So one of the assignments in our class is to utilize a large piece of black paper, and we're going to go ahead and basically like do the negative where we're actually highlighting the light part, right? And this is kind of an example, right? So it's a older woman turning her body, and as you can see the curve of the spine. And even though this is not really highlighted, there's still a little bit of wraparound light that comes through. So you still want to actually highlight some of that part. You want to accentuate what's really light, but still give some indication that there's form to this mass, to this figure. And so you'll see is you're working in reverse, right? And I did use this small Conte style pencil. It's worked very well. I do recommend also getting a knife, and then using a knife to cut and give you plenty, I don't know if you can see, but plenty of exposed core of whatever medium you're using. That way you can have a gesture, a very gestural and loose approach to drawing. So you don't want to be like this, right? You don't want to hold it like this. You want to hold it right here, like if it's an extension of your finger, and you're going to be drawing here very light in order to get your values, okay? So we're going to do something like this. It's going to be a full-length video. Some parts might be sped up. I haven't done this part yet. I haven't edited it yet. So I'm going to see more or less what parts should be sped up, what shouldn't. Also, leave in the comments, do you want a full tutorial? Do you want things more sped up? Do you want a little bit more in-depth information on how to do these things? I'm learning as much as you guys are, so I've been drawing my whole life, but there's always things to learn, and this is an example, right? I'm learning this the first time I ever did these types of drawings. I think they're fascinating. And again, if this is something that you guys find valuable, leave a comment comment below, and I'll go ahead and make more videos like that. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and go through a live example. It's a very similar pose like this, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how I start. We start out of nothing, a blank piece of paper. And where do you start the plotting points? How do you do the gestural shape of the body, right? I mean, that's the hardest part, is how do you even approach something like this? And so if you stick around, I'm gonna go and show you how I do it from start to finish. All right, and hopefully this helps you. And again, just go ahead and get your paper out. And if you want to follow along. This is the best way to learn, right? So just one last thing, this piece of paper right here is about 19.5 by 26 inch, so 19.5 wide, 26 inches long. I got this one at Hobby Lobby, and it's called, it's a Canson, I believe it's Canson Mitientes. I think that's how it's called, or Mitientes, all right? And so this is a very good pastel paper. It holds a lot of material, and it's actually very good. So it was about $3 for one sheet. So I use one, flip it around, use the other side, and no harm, no foul. You can't see through it. Okay, so let's get started. What you want, Raya? What you want? All right, so pretty simple concept. You're basically drawing, or you're rendering the opposite. You're rendering in the light. As you can see, it wasn't, I didn't have to do a lot of blending. This is only a 30-minute sustained pose. And what you're basically doing is you're accentuating the highlights, and then you are gradually decreasing the stroke volume and the intensity and the pressure as you get closer to the shadow. Okay, so if you have a circle, it's the same concept in any of these body parts. So this is a cylinder. The wraparound light is going to hit most on here, and since the body's casting a shadow, if the arm's here, you're going to see it's way darker, right? So same thing with the head, wraparound shadow. Here, this is where all the light is, so you're going to see a lot more highlights in that area. And so you're basically trying to bring out the light. This is a value study. You're doing a negative black mi tintes paper and a Conte or a white charcoal or white pastel, and just let the process work. Start in one way, work it in. You have 30 minutes. It seems like it's too long in some instances, and then when you really think you're feeling a little bit more comfortable, those 30 minutes go by quickly. So in the rest of the class, you're going to get a lot more assignments, tons of assignments. Some of them are going to be 2 hours. Some are going to be basically almost limitless from what I saw. One of them is just do your portrait. You're going to have color. You're going to have to really hone these basic principles and these skills. So practice. That's the name of the game. Do as many practice studies as possible. Like I said, what I do is I buy one of these boards and I flip it on the other side to get double. If you're just practicing, cut these in quarters. And now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 practice sheets. And, you're only going to get better practicing. So hope this helped. Hope you enjoyed this process, learning with me. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. All right. God bless. Have fun. Keep creating.